Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from what we usually do on this channel. Sometimes, we share our poetry, sometimes we play chess online, sometimes we record recaps of the tournaments we go to. Uh, in this video, I decided that I will teach all of you guys how to play chess from the absolute basics, just as if you have never heard of the game before and you just want to get started with the basics. So the chessboard, it is an 8 by 8 board with 64 squares. This is the chessboard, and the horizontal lines, excuse me, the vertical lines here, these are known as files. As you can see, I'm drawing the arrows, and the horizontal lines are known as ranks. So this would be the first rank, the second rank, the third rank, and so on. And we have a letter system. This is the A file, the B file, and the C file for these. Okay, it's basically a grid. So for example, this is the square E4, C1, 2, 3, 4, like this, and it's on the letter E, so it's E4. Okay, so you want to play with your friend, you want to set up the chessboard. How do you do it? These castle-looking things, you put them on the corners. The knights go next. Then you place the bishops, and then you place the king and the queen. Now, many people, they usually mix up the king and the queen. A good way to memorize it, uh, a popular chess YouTuber, Gotham Chess, puts it as the white queen likes a white dress with white shoes, so it's on the white square next to the king, and the black queen likes a black dress with black shoes. So that's how you remember them. And then you will place each pawn on the next rank. So here we have 8 pawns. Then we have the chessboard set up. So okay, now we have set up the chessboard. How do I actually play the game? Well, I'm glad you asked. So the objective of the game is to checkmate the opponent's king, and we will get into what that means later. Uh, but we will first start with how each piece you see on this board moves. So to illustrate, we will use this position. Now, please don't get overwhelmed. I know there are a lot of pieces, but it's okay. We will break this down. So let's start with the most common, the simplest piece. It's the pawn. Pawns, when they are on the second rank, like this, on their first turn, they can move 1 square, or sorry, 2 squares. You have the choice. You can either move this pawn 2 squares, or you can move this pawn 1 square, like this. Now, if you have already moved the pawn once, like this, you cannot move it twice. Pawns only get to move twice on their first turn. Sounds good? Are you following me with me here? We are just here with the basics. That's basically how the pawns move. Now pawns capture in a diagonal way. Well, what does capture mean? Capture simply means to eliminate the opponent's piece, just to get it off the board. What does that look like? I'll show you. Let's assume black plays the move d5 here. Sorry, like this. You can diagonally with your pawn, like this, you cover these two diagonal squares. You can take like this, and you control these two squares over here. And that's how pawn moves. They just the two squares. Now, okay, there is a special rule for pawns, and there are only two special rules on chess, and this is one of them. We'll get to the other one soon. Let us assume, hypothetically, black here moves his own pawn twice, like this, and plays the move pawn to c5. On this turn, and this turn only, on this specific turn, you can actually still capture here diagonally. This is known as en passant. It's just the rule. Now let's say I played any move here, and now it's my turn again after black moved this pawn. I cannot recapture here with en passant. See, like the thing even won't let me. And that's about how pawns move. I hope you didn't get too overwhelmed with this special rule, but it gets easier from here. Now, okay, well, what about these knights over here? Knights are very simple pieces. They move in an L shape. What does that look like? Okay, so let's say we have this knight over here, yeah? And let's do some L shapes. Let's do 1, 2, and to the right, like this. And then 1, 2, and to the right. And then 1, 2, to the right. And then 1, 2, back. 1, 2, here. 1, 2, here. Of course, you cannot take your own pieces. You cannot capture your own pieces. That's one of the rules. And we can do this for all directions, like this. So what does that look like? It looks like this. I go here. I have made an L. I can go back to another square. I can now move my knight. I can do this. Oops. Yeah, I can do this. Let's say it's my turn again. Boop, boop, like this. I have now moved my knight again. That's how the knight moves. That's also how the knight captures. All pieces capture the same way except for pawns. So, just for example, let's say black plays the move g4 here. My knight can capture the pawn as so. I hope this is clear. On to the next piece. These are known as bishops. These pointed hats, you can call them bishops. They basically move diagonals wherever they please. On the chessboard, you have one dark squared bishop that can move on the dark squares you can see over here, and one light squared bishop who can move on the light squares. So let's see. Let's go to this. Let's see, I have a dark squared bishop over here. I can move it to this square. I can move it to d2. I can also move it to e3. I can move it wherever I please along these diagonals. I can go here. I can go over here. Basically moving diagonally. Also captures diagonally. So let's say over here. I can capture this pawn on h6. That's how the bishops move. Okay, so how does this rook over here? This is what this castle is known as a rook. How does that move? Okay, let me show you. And um, they just move wherever they want in a straight line. First of all, of course, you can't jump over your own pieces like this, but you can do this. You can slide up one square. You can go all the way over here. You can go all the way over here like this. Then you can slide over here like this. That's how the rook moves. You can do this. Okay, so what about this king over here? This king. Kings are useless. Like it's a running joke. They basically just move one square in whatever the direction they want. Like for example, this king on g2 can move to any one of these squares. The king is, that's it. That's how the king moves. So like king f3, king g3, king h3, king h2, like this, king g1. Okay, well, now we only have one piece left. It's called the queen. And an easy way to understand how a queen moves is that queens are move as a combination of the rook and the bishop. So what does that mean? All right, let me show you. Let's say my queen here. I have this queen. My queen can also move laterally, like the rook, in all these directions. But my queen can also move diagonally, like, oops, like the bishop. What does that look like? Okay, I can play queen to d4 here. I can slide over here like this, like the rook. I can go here. I can move diagonally back. That's basically it. There is another special rule I will show you here, and I promise you this is the last special rule. Other than that, you're fine. Let's say here it is white to move, and white has moved his knight and moved his bishop. White can now do what's known as castling, oops, where the king can slide 2 squares and the rook goes behind in one move. So what does that look like? It looks like this. Oops. What? Excuse me for whatever that was. Yeah. So you could either castle like this with the black pieces. See how the king slides over here like this. And you can castle either short side, this is known as short side, or long side, like this. Your king slides over here, and the rook goes right back, like this. Now there are a few rules. If you have moved your king throughout the game, for example, let's say you played, for some reason you played king e2 here, you can never castle. Like for example, even if you went back, you can never castle. That's it. And more about castling, let's say, for example, your king is in check. This is known as check, where your king is actively being threatened from this bishop over here. See the diagonal? You cannot castle. Cannot castle out of check. You either block the check, like this, by moving your pawn, or you move your king. Or, bonus, let's say you are checked. If it's possible to capture the piece, let's say there was a rook here instead of a knight, you can just take the piece. And yeah, Moreover, let's say there was position like this. This is very hypothetical. Let's say you have this position, and this square is being blocked by the bishop. Now your king can't go two squares across like this because this bishop interferes with the king's path. See? So here it's also illegal to castle, and you can't. However, you can castle long if you really want to. But yeah, it's not letting me because I moved my king already. But yeah, if you want to, you could castle long. Great. I hope all of this is clear. Now there is something known as an illegal move. For example, you cannot move your bishop over here. It's known as an illegal move. Okay, so I know how the pieces move. I know how everything works. How do I win? Winning a chess game basically is it's when you checkmate your opponent's king. What does that mean? Okay, great. I'm glad you asked. Let's say in this position, it is white to move. White can slide the rook all the way to the d8 square. And that would be checkmate. Why? The king is under attack. The pawn cannot go backwards. Pawns don't go backwards. And the king has no square to go. Can't go over here. Can't go over here. It's checkmate. Game is over. And that's how checkmating works in chess. Now, what I want you to do now is I want you to understand something, and is that every piece on the chessboard does have a value. What does that mean? There is a point system assigned. Pawns are worth 1 point. Rooks are worth 5. Bishops and knights are worth 3 points. Your queen is worth 9 points. And your king is basically infinitely invalid. Because if you lose your king, you lose the game. And that's how I want you to think about it. It doesn't matter if you like some people think, oh, I have 50 points of material, I win. No, you win only if you get checkmate. So, okay, Qaisar, which is my name, can you give me an example of like how chess position looks like? Sure, this was one of them. Let's look at this one. In this position, it is white to move. And let's see, material is equal. If you count everything, the points are equal. And let's see, how the pieces interact with the board. Okay, so what I notice, as someone who's quite experienced, I noticed that here I have a pin. What does that mean? It means when a piece of lower value is behind a piece of a higher value. For instance, this knight cannot move if it's where black's turn, because I would simply capture your queen. Thus, your knight is pinned. So let's say I play h3 and black moves the knight, let's say to e6. Going backwards like this, I will simply take the queen and win the game, like so. And that's how a pin works. So let's observe a little bit more in the position. All right. So here it is white to move, and white can play the move rook to e1. Now let's try and see what this move does. Now white has what we know as what we call as control of the file. And white is also seeing, this is called seeing the queen or attacking the queen So, okay, where can this queen go? This queen can move to a bunch of squares, but this queen can take the rook. Now, let me ask you something. Should black take this rook, or should black move the queen, let's say, to f7? If you said black should take the rook, go play checkers. I'm joking. Uh, but black obviously shouldn't take the rook. Well, why? Because we just discussed that a rook is worth 5 points, and the queen is worth 9. So queen takes rook, queen takes queen. White is up 4 points of material. White is winning. So, okay, let's look further. Does white have other moves? Okay, let's try and implement a little bit of our board vision, right? And this is where, one of the most important chess skills come, which is recognizing patterns, vision, visualization, etc. In this position, white can give a check and win material. And I would like for you to pause the video and try and figure out for yourself. I will reveal the move in 1, 2, 3. The move is queen to d5 check. And white is attacking the king and attacking the rook at the same time. Black cannot defend his king and defend his rook at the same time. And black has to move the king. It's the rules. Black can either block, black cannot take the queen, black should move the king. So let's say queen f7 is played, blocking the check. You don't trade queens here. You take the rook all the way in the corner. It's another check. Black's only move is blocking the queen. Then you can trade. You have another pin. And you are up a full rook. 5 points of material. So, alright. Let's say it's black to move here. By this point, you should probably be getting the hang of this, but if you're not, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Chess is hard, but anyone can do it. So let's say black plays the move rook takes g3 here. Check. Like, aha, I'm checking your king. Is this a good move? The answer, of course, is no. I just take, I open up my rook, and you have lost 5 points for 1 point. And that's how chess is. Well, now we have finished this example. We're like, oh, of course. Well, could you please show me how does this work in a real game? Of course. This is a game I played in my most recent video. Played this. And in this position, my opponent played the move queen to b6. And my opponent is a strong player, 2081. Stronger, I think, probably this is in the top 99 percentile. Very, very strong player. The idea is he wants to push this pawn and attack me. But I caught him with a very nice, similar idea to this queen to d5 check. I played this move, d5. What does that do? Well, let's observe. The move d5, it attacks my opponent's bishop, which is worth 3 points, with my pawn that is worth 1 point, and it simultaneously opens the scope of this bishop. So my opponent has to save his queen, because it's his most valuable piece. And after he blocks the scope with c5, I simply take the 3-point bishop. After he takes, I'm simply up 2 points of material, and I very calmly, easily won this game. Not because my opponent is not a good chess player, or is that he's bad at the game. No, he's very strong. But it's because it's a decisive advantage. So, okay. Well, you've seen a real example. seen all of these things. So how exactly do you checkmate, quote unquote? How exactly do you win a chess game? There are several things you have to like look at, like rook end games, or sorry, not rook end games, like how to checkmate with a king and the rook, a king and the queen, a king and two rooks, etc., etc. Let's say you end up with a position like this, and well, how do I win? I have a queen, I'm up 9 points. Congratulations, but how do I win? And I will teach you this checkmate. The way you checkmate with king and queen versus king is you maneuver your queen, you keep moving your queen in a way where if it were a knight, it would be checking the enemy king. What does that look like? Okay, it's white to move. White plays the move queen to b4 here. See, if it was a knight, it would be check. King moves anywhere, same thing. But okay, I don't get the point. What if I just keep moving? Calmly, calm, calmly, calm. Then you reach this position. Now, if you play the move queen to f7, game is a draw. What do you mean it's a draw? This is what we call stalemate. What is stalemate? It is when it's your turn or your opponent's turn, and there is no single possible legal move you can play. So the game ends in a draw. So let's see. Opponent can't play king g8. It's an illegal move. Can't move your king to a square where it's occupied. Can't play king g7. Can't play king h7. Squares are covered, so it's a draw. So okay. So I've done all this. King is on h8. I can't keep doing knight. What's known as knight opposition. This is known as knight opposition. So what do I do now? Well, it's simple. Bring your king. King to h7. I just bring my king. King to h8. I just bring my king. King to h7. That's not stalemate. Can give a check like this. King goes back to the corner. Now you bring your king. There's no stalemate. This is the only move. This is checkmate. This is a very basic checkmating pattern you should know. So let's say here we got king to h6. Same thing. Can check. It goes here. I can play something like, whatever. King here, king g7, and you can slowly just drive the king to where you want it to be. Here it's checkmate, and this is known as knight opposition. And that's chess. That's chess as a whole. I will be doing more videos like this, showing beginners how they can improve step by step. And one more thing, if, for example, you reach a position like this, and it's king and knight versus king, game is a draw. Why? Can't checkmate with the knight. King and bishop, draw. King and knight versus king and knight. Let's not talk about that. Let's not worry about that. But like, if there is insufficient material and you cannot checkmate your king, the enemy king, the game ends in a draw. And that's probably what you should know. There's something called the 50 move rule, but you shouldn't worry about that at all. It doesn't matter. Now, this is for the final part of this video. I'll just show you how to get, just the very essence, like the basics of how a chess game should be played. And okay, like all of this stuff, but now you're like super overwhelmed. Like, okay, how do I play a chess game? And it's very simple if you know the general principles you should abide by. For instance, the first one is you should control the center. Control the center. So a good first move would be to play the move pawn to e4. What that does is you control the center. Okay, say our pawn responds with e5. Now we will initiate our next plan. We have this pawn in the center. We will develop our knight like this. We will try and develop our pieces and castle. So we attack the pawn. Our opponent defends the pawn with their knight. Now we will continue developing. We get our other bishop out. This is known as developing our pieces. And you castle your king. This is the next objective. You take control of the center. You get your pieces out. You castle your king. And usually next, what you want to do is see this move d3, opening up the scope for my bishop. My opponent next castles. I put my bishop out. And I put my knight out. I have now developed all my pieces. I have castled. And the next thing you should be doing is connecting your rooks. Let's say bishop g4. Or sorry, bishop d7. Queen d2. What do you mean connecting my rooks? Well, when you move your queen like this, now your rooks see each other. Then you can decide where you want to put your rooks, probably in the center, and you play chess. You figure it out. And that's about it. That's really about it. Now, ideally, you want, if you can put two pawns in the center, like this, you should. Previously, it was not a very smart idea, because our opponent would take. Well, what do you mean? I just take. Well, now your opponent can attack your vulnerable queen, which is your most valuable piece, which means your opponent will keep winning time on your queen. For example, haha, I play queen d5. Now our opponent plays f6. Now your opponent has two knights out and you've wasted time moving your queen. And this is another principle. Don't put your queen out too early. But you keep learning chess over time, and you don't need to it's impossible to learn everything at once. I cannot explain everything in one video. But in general, if you can put two pawns in the center like this, you should. Get your knights out, two pawns in the center, taking control of the center like this strong center defended, and then you will put your bishops out on the c4 square like this where it's active. Bishop sees this diagonal near the king, so it's strong. Bishop f4 like this. Then you will castle and excuse me, connect your rooks like this. This is your setup. That's basically chess in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you excuse me for my monotone nature. Unfortunately, that's just how I speak. So thank you to everyone who's made it this far. I hope everyone learned something new today. And if anyone needs some chess assistance, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions about some position or etc., etc., you can ask me. I'll help you. And I just have one request before ending this video. Please don't burden yourself with overwhelming yourself with theory, chess theory, and memorizing things. And just play for now. When you're a beginner, you shouldn't be worried about these things. Play, enjoy the game. play with your friends. That's it. Thank you to everyone, and bye bye.